Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Overdress Astesice Lyrical Monasterio deck profile for Post. It's a new school term. This is the trial deck that is getting new support with the latest Cardfight Vanguard Overdress set. The new Kairi Grade 4 definitely does add some consistency to the deck. Same consistency you would have with the Grade 4s we got from the Awakening of Chakrabarthi set, for the fact that the card has triple drive and then just adds more to the actual play style of the Astesice deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. We'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck, with our starter being the Astesice Mion. The standard starter, when rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Astesice Nanami. With this card, when it's placed on Vanguard, you may choose a grade 1 or less card from your drop zone and call it to rear's rest. So the rear guard setup is a big part of the deck. So having a grade 1 in the ride deck, this can just do it when it's placed on Vanguard, makes it more of a go-to card for you to discard your cost and then choose that card that you discarded from the drop zone back onto the field. Our grade 2 is the Astesice Kiora. When this unit attacks, choose one of your rear guards and you may return it to your hand. And also with this deck, rear guards have a bunch of different skills when placed on the rear guard. So being able to call out those units back onto the field means that you can just initiate those skills again when they're placed on the rear guard. With our grade 3 for the deck being Astesice Kairi, this is the only unit copy that I run in the deck, with the grade 4 being more of a main focus for a lot of your different setup. But it has the Vanguard skill. When this unit attacks, Soul Blast 1, choose up to 2 of your rear guards, return them to your hand. So with that play, you have the option to bounce those cards back to your hand to then reuse later on. But the big play will come forward with the grade 4 newest card in the deck, the Astesice Live Kairi. All of your rear guards when placed get plus 5,000 power. And on Vanguard, when this unit attacks, if your soul has a card with Kairi and its card name, choose up to 2 of your rear guards, return them to your hand, and choose 2 cards from your hand and call them to rear. So it's what the original Kairi does, but just with the option that it had to Persona Road initially. This one just has to have Kairi and its soul, which you'll do when you ride on the grade 3, thanks to this card, as long as you don't soul blast it out. Even if you do have to soul blast it for a resource, you can always just ride another grade 4 and set up another Kairi in the soul with this deck to use, and then utilize the grade 4, which also has triple drive for more pressure with the triggers you may reveal. For the grade 3s that I run in the deck, I run 4 of the Bashful Striver Kinky. When this unit is placed on rear guard, choose a grade 2 or less normal unit with Astesice and its card name from your drop zone, and you may put it into your soul. If you put a card into your soul, counterblast 1, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. So the Astesice setup will come in the form of the cards you soul blast out of your soul, because the Astesice units, aside from the triggers, are a big part of this play. But you need to soul blast the original normal units and then call them back out onto the field with the setup of this grade 3, because after you soul blast them out of the soul of your Vanguard, you'll place them back into this soul with Kinky to then be called out with some of your other units, with some of those units being the next grade 2, which is the Brilliance and Elegance Aerith. When this unit attacks while boosted, if your Vanguard's Astesice Kairi, counterblast 1, choose up to 1 card from your hand and call it to an open rear guard. So this works more for the setup of just being able to have the Astesice Kairi return units to the field and then have your Aerith attack afterwards, since you have the open rear guard to then call out other cards. It makes use of the fact that you didn't use the Persona ride with this card, which is why I still like to run this grade 2 in the deck, even though you'll have the grade 4 ridden afterwards and not be able to use it, since it does specify Astesice Kairi. And for the other grade 2 in the deck, running 3 of the Elegance Moment Lapel. With this card, when this unit is put on the guard circle, reveal a card with Kairi and its card name from your hand, and it gets plus 10,000 shield. So the grade 4 will still count as that, so as long as you have a grade 4 copy in your hand, even before you ride the grade 4 on top of the grade 3, you can use it as additional guard options with your lapel on the rear guard. That's it for the grade 2s. Moving on now to the grade 1s, running 4 of the Next Step La Plume. When this unit is placed on rear, if you have a Vanguard with Astesice and its card name, choose a grade 2 or less card with Astesice and its card name from your soul, and you may call it to an open rear guard as rest. If you called it during your battle phase, stand the called card. So this will make up for the units you'll call out from your soul with this card, and then being able to use the grade 2 or less cards as either units to bounce back onto your hand to then call back out to the field, or if they're in the drop zone, you can set them up back into your soul with cards like Kinky, and then just call them out again with La Plume. It's the whole recycle power you use with these new cards in the deck for those plays altogether. Because remember, you have to put normal units with your Kinky back into the soul, and then you call out the grade 2 or less cards with Astesice onto the field thanks to La Plume to keep the attacks going during the attack step. And that's where the normal units from the ride deck come into play. For the other grade 1s that we run in the deck, we also run 4 Munching Girl Sia for just a Soul Blast, which will also set up the normal units for the ride deck into the drop zone, depending on which ones you Soul Blast. You don't want to Soul Blast the grade 3 if you don't have to, because one, you can't call or put into the Soul Kairi back in with the cards, so you'll most of the time Soul Blast the grades 0 through 2. But with Sia, you'll be able to then call those units back onto the field to an open rear guard, and it makes up all the more because depending on what you call out with Kairi, you can even set up the Soul Blast with this card to call an additional rear guard onto the field as long as you have that open spot. For some of the lower numbers for the grade 1s, I also run 2 of the Conspicuous Anxiety Kadya. So with the +5 that Kairi provides, it'll gain +5 from its own skill, and when it's placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard with Astesice and its card name, it gets +10,000. So Kadya will be at 20,000 power on its own, hitting for some pretty good numbers against your opponent's Vanguard with this unit as well. I only run 2 though, because you will be able to bounce this card back to your hand and reuse it constantly with the deck. With the other lower numbers for the grade 1s being 1 of the Fulfill Suites and Yelma with this card on the back row when your other unit is placed on rear guard during battle phase. Soul Blast 2, draw a card. So if you can set up the Soul with your Kinky, you can at least have some other Soul Blast power to use with this draw. It is a once per turn, but makes up for some hand consistency that you'll use to fully invest with your cards on the field. With the last of the grade 1s being 4 of the Christine, there's no Astesice Sentinel with the Recycle skill. That's why I prefer to run this one. So as long as you have the guard option with this card, and you only have one other Sentinel in your hand, you don't have to pay the discard cost for it, and you can keep it for another bigger attack your opponent may have against you. Moving on now to the trigger lineup, I run 4 of the Astesice Misa. So the play with this comes into the form of the setup, having a Vanguard with Astesice, choose a grade 1 or less from your soul, calling its open rear guard as rest. So with this option available to you, you have the other Astesice cards to fit with the aesthetic in the deck as well. If you wanted to run the critical with the skill, you can always take out the original style Ashuka and put it in as that spot. Running the 7 critical, because you do have the multiple restand and call options when you attack with your Vanguard. You can try the rainbow front triggers with the skill as well in this spot, but it's player preference at that point. With the rest of the triggers being the potential to put in the draw trigger with the skill with the +5 shield here. They were just in my other deck at the moment, but with the new pack out, if you wanted to run that draw, it can go in this spot also. And for the heal, running the 4 Astesice Economy, once again fitting with the trial deck trigger units. This is just the other one that you can put in this spot to fit with the role of the deck. And the over trigger being the mysterious twins Ramia and Rumia. All the over triggers share the same skill for Lyrical Monasterio, with this one being if you drove check it, you gain the additional effect. During this fight, you get during your turn, all your rear guards get +10,000, adding to the pressure that this deck can do overall with all your different units. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. It's definitely a fun deck, and if those of you that invested in the trial deck really do like the support, I am a big fan of the grade 4 lineup that we got for it. It just adds to the pressure, and like I said, feels very familiar to some of the other main 5 decks we got from the Awakening of Chakrabarthi set. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.